There are several people who just adore the new canon and everything about it. The new movies, the books, the comics, and the games. They might not think it's absolutely perfect, but overall it has been worthy of being called the true storyline of Star Wars in their eyes. And honestly, I think that's just wonderful. If something continues to give you enjoyment, then I hope it goes on for as long as possible. Now that being said, there are also many people for which the new canon consistently keeps on disappointing them. They dread the next movie coming out, or plan on boycotting it. Maybe the new canon started off good, but with each misstep, it made them more and more upset by what became of the Star Wars brand. There are probably some of you watching right now who have felt this exact same way. Not helping the sentiment is the response by certain Lucasfilm staff or journalists who discuss Star Wars news, making fun of people with dissenting or negative opinions about the new Star Wars movies. After all, being called a hater, a man-baby, Russian troll, or a tearful fanboy isn't going to endear anyone to change their mind. The most notorious group of dissenters going up against Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy and the new canon right now, are a group of YouTubers who call themselves the Fandom Menace. They consist of the YouTube channels Geeks and Gamers, World-Class Bullshitters, John Talks, and Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I'm sure there are a few others as well, but these are the main ones as far as I'm aware. Each of these channels have many subscribers who also may share the opinion that the sequel trilogy, or Disney Star Wars in general, has not gone in the direction that they had wanted it to. I certainly agree with many of their points to a degree. I firmly disagree with the way Lucasfilm are running things because they're not continuing the Legends universe with new books and comics. As a result, I financially support them by buying only Legends books and comics. Where I, and if I may be allowed to speak for them, the rest of the EU fandom may diverge from the Fandom Menace, is we don't largely care what the new canon does. The Fandom Menace are Star Wars fans, and though they may not call themselves fans of the new canon, they are followers of it. They discuss problems with the new Star Wars movies, as well as the controversies created by the comments of certain Lucasfilm staff. They might bring up the EU once in a while in their videos, but I don't believe it's their focus. But if you are someone who is, or was, a fan of the new canon, who largely agrees with the Fandom Menace's message, then I really sympathize with you. And to all of you, I have to ask, if you keep on being let down by this new canon, because there is less and less that Lucasfilm can offer you, and on top of that, there are Lucasfilm employees, or Star Wars creatives, that have called you names for your opinion, then why keep on following the new canon? Again, as I stated in the beginning of this video, there are several people who have nothing but love for the new Star Wars, or have only minor nitpicks. But for others, it just gets worse and worse and worse. Maybe The Last Jedi and Solo let you down. Maybe the Aftermath novel let you down. Or Star Wars Resistance let you down. Battlefront 1 and 2 certainly let a lot of people down. Maybe you feel like you've gotten your hopes up one too many times, and now the bar for Star Wars content has sunk to an all-time low. Look no further than the people talking about boycotting Episode 9 because they thought Episodes 7 and 8 were both bad. But if the story or the main characters of the sequel trilogy doesn't interest them, then why would any future movies, especially if Episodes 10, 11, or 12, reuse those same characters? Now you could argue that there are parts of the new canon that even the harshest of critics are looking forward to. I've mostly been bringing up the movies as an example, but the Mandalorian series has got people excited with just one image. A ton of people are looking forward to the Clone Wars episodes coming out. I even hear some good things about the comics. Obviously there are some good parts to it. I haven't explored the new canon, but I would be very surprised if it's all terrible. In fact, you can let me know about some good stories from the new canon in the comment section, and once Legends gets continued, I will check those stories out. My concern is that the direction that Lucasfilm is taking Star Wars is troubling for many people. And for some, all it takes for a storyline or a series to be ruined is just one bad story. And for its short lifespan, the new canon already has a few of them apparently. The most infamous example being The Last Jedi. Even for people who like The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi pretty much ruined a great deal of what the new canon of Star Wars was supposed to offer, which is extra sad when the movie was supposed to be the sequel trilogy's Empire Strikes Back. Jeremy, the guy who runs the Geeks and Gamers YouTube channel, even destroyed his copy of The Force Awakens, a movie he personally liked, just because of how much The Last Jedi screwed up the new Star Wars for him. So if Episode 9 doesn't deliver for The Last Jedi dissenters, that kind of is the final nail in the coffin for the sequel trilogy, right? I mean, I keep on equating the failure of these new movies with the rest of the canon, but to be honest, they're kind of the central part of it. Much of the new canon books and comics has basically operated as tie-in material for the next big movie coming out. That's not to say the EU didn't do the same thing. The expanded universe also sometimes acted as a tie-in material to movies, like to say what events took place in between them. However, the expanded universe set its own course for a lot of it, because for several years there were no movies coming out, or there were larger gaps between release dates. So we got stories that took place way back in the past, thousands of years before any of the movies, and also past Episode 6, basically continuing the storyline far beyond the movies. The new canon, on the other hand, has a movie coming out every single year, so much of the books and comics are dependent on them. Because the movies are the single most important thing to the new canon now, you get loads of tie-in material every year for the accompanying movies. And if you're someone who hated The Last Jedi for that casino planet scene, among other reasons, I don't know if a book about it is going to appeal to you all that much. If you don't think the new movies are that integral to the new Star Wars, as opposed to the rest of the canon material, then consider the fact that because of Episode 7's existence, the expanded universe, the original canon of Star Wars, was a race to make room for it. If you dislike or even hate this new Disney Star Wars storyline, then maybe also consider that there's the slightest possibility that what came before with the expanded universe, or Legends as it's now known, was better, maybe? If you're a fan of the EU, or at least heard a couple of good things about it, then by all means, you do have the possibility of, like me, considering that the true storyline of Star Wars. But wait, you might say, Disney and Lucasfilm don't currently call that the official canon. Is that a good reason to stick around with an inferior Star Wars storyline that you hate? Should canon status be more important than good storytelling? Even Pablo Hidalgo, the guy on the official Lucasfilm story group, has once said canonicity is overrated. I personally don't care what is canon, because I follow the EU or Legends timeline. And you know what? I couldn't be happier with it. It's not perfect, and you can nitpick it to pieces if you want. But if the new canon is just making you miserable, and the Legends books at least seem a little bit intriguing to you, then does being officially canon seem all that important? Because it doesn't to me, or to a lot of other people. I don't follow the new canon, because if I did, I probably would have the same complaints about it that the Phantom Menace does. Probably even more, because I'd constantly be comparing it to the expanded universe. Matt Wilkins, another big YouTuber in the EU fandom, also doesn't follow the new canon, because it's not his Star Wars either. Neither one of us want to go in expecting to hate a Star Wars story. The main goal of the EU fandom is to get new books and comics within the Legends continuity, which we basically view as an alternate universe to Disney's canon. And like I said, the EU isn't perfect. There are stories from that timeline that people do find disagreeable, which is understandable given how full of content it was, but to us the vast majority of it is brilliant. The complexity of an interconnected universe, all the background characters from the movies getting their own story told, the great continuity, the fact that Luke, Han, and Leia stay friends for years after the movies and continue help saving the galaxy instead of letting everyone down all the time. It's great stuff, and we have absolutely no issues with it being non-canon. If official canon is what Disney is currently doing with Star Wars, then yeah, I'll stick with non-canon, Legends, or whatever you want to call it. Instead of fretting about Episode 9, which you don't have to do, follow the expanded universe instead. So, to the Phantom Menace, or just people who dislike the current direction of Star Wars, why not join the movement to get new Legends stories made? We can recommend some really good places to start, and can guarantee that you will have a lot of fun with it. There is hope for the future of Star Wars, but if you don't think the new canon is going to provide it, you can always campaign for more legends.